He's got a beard. He's pretty old, but like he knows like how to like tell us what to do, and I need to like find him. And also there's another guy. He's kind of short, kind of grumpy. But you know he's kind of like my uncle. So I have to find them.
Well, when we came in through that like line, basically, did we see anyone that fit those descriptions?
Roll me a perception check just to see if you recall.
19, get me anything?
You do remember people with that brief description. They push further into the cave. Those were the ones that the dwarf was speaking Elvish to.
Oh, okay, right. Alright, yeah, so they just went further into the cave. Is it safe for you to go out there?
Oh shit. He kind of like looks around and there's a long sword hanging on his belt. I need to give this to him. He left it. I gotta go. Thank you.
Hold on a minute. They're heading in the direction we're going, right? From when they push through?
Yeah, it looks like it.
So, why don't you give us the sword and we can give it to them?
I don't know. That it's like it's important to him. I mean, I know you guys are good people, but I can't. I gotta do it myself, right?
Listen, you're not ready to head out into such a dangerous place yet. Let me deal with this. Can I roll persuasion on that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Damn!
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sure. He gives you the sword. It's kind of like it's a cutlass type of deal. It's like a curved. His name is Bathor. If you could let him know that I gave him the sword by giving it to you, he's gonna be mad at me though. He runs back into where the dwarf comes and goes from.
I'm gonna like sling my quarterstaff on my back and I'll hold on to the sword for now. Unless somebody else wants to carry it.
I'll carry it.
Alright.
You have a Falchion now.
Okay.
You said the guy's name was Balthor?
A dwarf is
Bathor,
wielding a
yeah.
falchion?
Bathor.
I think I got mixed up somewhere.
He's said that he's a taller man, and that's his sword. All right. So, are we going further into the abyss?
Yep, I'm certainly ready.
You progress deeper into the cavern. It widens a little bit, and then it kind of bottlenecks. So you guys have to move single file through it, and eventually you see like an expanse in which the room opens up, kind of like how you were in the first room. I use room colloquially to describe a
Sure.
cavern opening. And there's a big, like a very thick passage going to the north, and then there's one that is fairly thick that goes east. They're not sequestered in any way. They're fairly open, so it's basically like this antechamber, I guess you would call it. Expands out into two very big passages, one to the north and one to the east.
Alright, well, one of the two of you who are definitely better at survival than I am, can you figure out which way we should be going?
This sounds like a job for...
A Ragnar?
No, I am not a Ragnar. We met Ragnar earlier. We started
We
to
fucked
fuck
him up pretty bad.
I'm going to see if I can get a clue from anything on the cave walls that would tell me some semblance of direction. Like, maybe there's a subtle airflow,
Sure.
maybe there's a particular direction of growth that the moss is adapting on the walls, maybe the aquamarine glow of the fungus tells me something, you know, the way they're growing in certain patterns. We'll just, like, we don't have trees, but there's still life indicatives, I think. Oh, here we go. I'm assuming this is a normal roll.
Yes, survival check. Whoa.
Damn.
I was
Alright.
really thinking about it.
Tell me how you're like looking at the walls.
Yeah,
If
like,
that makes sense.
I'm
Are you, like, feeling them.
looking close. If I need some kind of tactile feedback, like how damp is this, then yes, I'll like gently touch it, but try not to like upset anything ecosystem wise, because you know they got to do their thing too. If something looks like
Okay.
a moss but I'm not sure, I might check the texture to see if that's what it is.
Okay. So you do that. You do notice that it's a little bit moist around like the bottom, and there's some precipitation coming from the top of the cave, kind of like how it was in the first room. You look up, there's stalagmites with calcified deposits. that are kind of going off onto like weird, it like thins out weirdly and things like that. You notice that the moss is kind of lining the wall and kind of going upwards to the north. You also notice that the fungi, the ones that were lighting up the room, are starting to fade off over here. You're wondering if it's been purposely cultivated for such, like they're like reseeding them in order to kind of fortify the central chamber behind you, or if it's just like the moss is competing with the resources that the fungi would have. You're thinking that it's the latter. So you're looking at a very moist chamber, and you think that if you go to the east, you might see more of that moisture. If you go to the north, you feel like a cold wind blowing from the eastern area, and less so from the north as well.
Can I interject for a moment here? You picked Underdark as your favorite terrain, right? So that 20 is actually a 30.
Ooh,
Oh,
Jesus.
crap.
You have a feeling that if you go north from the architecture of the cavern, that it might end in a dead end. But if you go east, it looks like it will continue to expand in that direction. Judging by the general geography of the cave, it looks like the east is probably going to be the most open-ended part.
Yeah.
And maybe there might be something in the north, who knows.
Once we've been wandering around in this cave system for a little while, we also cannot become lost except by magical means. There's a whole list of shit. It's on page 91.
When you go back to Embrin, that's what you glean from your years of being underground and also being a natural navigator.
All right. Well, knowing what we know now, shall we, friends?
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
Krusk, you were taking point, if I recall, correct?
I nod. Yeah, so they take point. We're going this way, right?
So, as you progress through the cavern, you begin to see that the expanded ceiling starts coming down a little bit. Not so much to be like, it's significant, but to the point where you can see that the ceiling is starting to slope a little bit, and that the stalagmites are kind of slowly descending down, kind of like, spikes overhead. And the dripping is getting more pronounced. I'm assuming the order is kind of like this. Yep. So roll me perception checks, everyone.
Sure.
Would it be good to have our passives somewhere, Zoo?
Yes. If you guys could let me know what your passives are, that would be helpful as well.
Oof.
I'm a 12.
My passive is 13. I guess this is my
Congratulations,
thing.
you see 7 times better than I
Wow.
do.
Do you hear like the low whistle of the wind? It's not loud enough to be like really significant. It's just kind of like a small a type of deal, which is interesting because that means there's some airflow in this cave, and you're not sure where the source of that is coming from. On top of that, you hear something on the wind. It's kind of a low, grinding noise. Kind of like two gears being, ground against each other.
On the wind?
Yeah, it's very soft. No one else really could have picked it up. You'd have to really listen for it. But, since you have incredible ears, you hear that.
Embrin, in a hushed whisper, asks, "Do you hear that?"
No.
I turn to her puzzled and say, hear what?
You hear more of that, gears grinding against gears type of deal going
It's
on.
like machinery moving. I don't know what to suspect except
So you suspect some kind of trap or machine?
something. Stormwind,
Yes?
what know you of the dwarven makes from yesterworld?
I would be super pleased to roll history about that. I am not an expert in dwarven history, I'm afraid.
I suggest we go carefully.
The more you progress down this road, the more that grinding noise becomes apparent. At least to Embrin.
I'm going to continue trying to point it out to them.
Yeah, if we're actively listening for it
Mhm.
now, hopefully we'll be able to hear it.
You guys can roll me another perception check.
19.
Krusk, you start hearing what she's hearing. It's a low grinding noise, as well as you, Carrick. You guys begin to hear exactly what she's talking about. It's a low grinding noise, like metal against metal, and sometimes like metal against stone. It's kind of lingering on the wind as well. You feel something change in the wind. You smell like a very like distant, almost acrid stench as you guys progress deeper into the cave. And it's starting to kind of waft from this easternly direction. And you hear that grinding noise become more apparent.
I'm gonna carefully move forward.
Roll me perception checks.
These perception checks are not my bag.
Oof.
You don't see anything really out of the ordinary. That noise is kind of unnerving, though.
We're running short on spells already. Unless something else comes up, I'm gonna hold off.
Okay. Emberin, you hear in the distance what sounds like breathing.
What kind of breathing?
Heavy.
Are we being hunted?
God, I hope not.
Yeah, I want to maneuver such that perhaps we all have our backs to each other.
I am gonna take no chances. I am drawing my weapon.
Okay. Go ahead and position yourselves.
As best as we can, anyway, right? Taking a cue from Krusk, my bow is drawn.
I've got my hands out. My hands are unsheathed.
Alright, fair enough. Alright, you roll me a Constitution save.
Oh, of course. A 5.
Oof. The acrid stench that you were smelling, like, on the periphery of the eastern cavern, now starts to fill your lungs, and you feel kind of sick.
Oh boy.
Do I have the poison status effect?
You might say you do have the status poison effect as your guts start to churn and you feel very queasy. A claw bursts forth from the wall and smashes you from behind, Carrick, and
Hold on a minute. So did something just try to hit me?
Did not hit you. It succeeded.
No. Did something make an attack against me?
Yes.
Alright, I'm gonna use my reaction to cast shield. My armor class goes up by 5.
Uh-huh.
And it wasn't a magic missile, so we don't have to worry about that. So
Yeah.
my current AC is 19.
Cool, it still hits. I rolled a natural 20.
At least it's until the start of my next turn I have the +5 armor class bonus, so...
Yeah. So, a claw bursts forth from the wall, crumbling a part of the cave as this mighty claw smashes the small of your back. Your magi instincts immediately kick in and you cast shield, but it still goes through it, and you take 7 damage.
No, it doesn't. It bounces off my arcane shield. The shield has 3 hit points left.
Okay, very good. You see the Freddy Krueger claw, it disappears into the wall. If everyone wants to roll a perception check.
We're not in Kansas anymore, kids.
I should hope I got above a fucking 15 on the thing that just attacked me.
You know what? That makes sense,
Ooh.
because look at how we're positioned. Carrick is facing the wall where it came from. You and I are more towards the other wall.
My dude is just blind and deaf.
Carrick, you see the claw disappear into the wall, and you see a small path that gets carved inside the cavern wall. It's kind of like when you cut yourself to the point where you see a white scratch across your skin. It's kind of doing that with the cave, and then it kind of bounces into obscurity somewhere along the northern wall here.
Okay. Should we roll initiatives now?
You guys can prepare that for me. Yes, that'd be great. The whatever that was burrows itself back into the cavern wall, and you guys are on alert. So, what do you do?
So Embrins has wheeled around because clearly something just happened behind her, and her eyes are darting around in the dark. An arrow is trained. She's looking for something, anything. What the hell was that? This isn't making sense.
Can I call out and be it's over there and point to where I saw it go?
Yeah.
Alright.
I
don't know if she's capable of seeing where it's burrowing.
Cavern here is pretty dim. I think that you would need, at that point in time, your empathetic instincts would have kicked in and you would have cast dancing lights.
If you will allow me to have that action, I will.
Yeah, sure, you can have it.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have all 4 of the lights as close to it as I can get them for the moment.
Okay.
If there are more enemies, I'll start spreading them out. But...
Oh my god. Do you know what this means? It means you're my heads-up display.
Literally a HUD.
And the lights are around me at this point, right?